That's creepy. Now that is the creepiest thing in this video. Just saying. What's up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Hi. If you are new here, I don't know how you found this video or my channel, but I'm so happy you did. Let's introduce ourselves. I will start. My name is Chase, and I am a hot mess, the hottest of messes, might I add. So welcome. If you like hot messes, if you are a hot mess, if you are intrigued, then subscribe, hit that red button. It costs nothing. And join the Hot Mess Express, because this train does not stop. It goes full steam ahead. We don't stop for nothing. Hi. Before we get into the video, I have two things I want to talk about. The first one, okay, I know this is so stupid and the number is so small, but I hit 31 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and I know that, like, okay, wow, 31 subscribers, but that is just, when I started this channel, didn't think that more than, like, my mom would subscribe to me, and I really, honestly, truly mean that. Like, I didn't think anyone would subscribe to me, so to have 31 people care enough to subscribe so they get the notifications I'm in their subscription box they want to watch, that just means a lot to me, more than I think you know. So to the 31 people subscribed, thank you. I wanted to hit that before my birthday. It is a week before my birthday today as I film this, and I hit it. And I am so happy. So thank you guys so much. The second thing, this one, again, I'm very excited about. I found the Ghost Hunter episodes for both Malabar Farm and the Bissman building. So if you want to watch those, I know a lot of you said that after watching my videos, you actually sat down, researched the stories, looked into it more. If you want to watch those, I will leave links in the description box down below for you. The Malabar one is amazing. They catch some really cool stuff. And also, I found out that, long story short, the end of my first video, go watch that. I talked about how I felt very uneasy in one of the rooms, in one of the daughter's rooms. I just really felt like I shouldn't be in there. And it wasn't a negative thing, more of just like, I would like my space and privacy. Well, turns out that's actually a claim that a lot of people experience at Malabar. So, I'm just saying. And then the Bissman one is amazing. It gives a lot more information. They have a lot more experiences and eyewitness things that happen there that I was not able to find. I wish I would have found those episodes before I filmed the videos. But they're there now. They give a lot more backstory, a lot more experiences. So go watch them. I'll link them down below for you guys if you're interested. And with that, let's jump into the video. So, like I said, wait, let me put my hair up first, because I play with it way too much. So I'm gonna start putting it up. But don't make fun of me if it looks bad when I put it down, okay? Because it probably will. It's going to lay funny, but that's fine. So last week, we talked about the Bissman building in downtown Mansfield, about the history of that building. We talked about the involvement with Shawshank, the movie, at the building. We talked about the true crime that happened there. And then, of course, we talked about the paranormal. So if you are interested in watching that, I will leave a link down below to that video. It is the second in this series. Also, this is the first time in a long time that I've consistently uploaded for 3 weeks. So give me a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So today we are talking about something that, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think that I would have enough information on this place to do a whole video. And now here I am, doing a whole video. I have like 5 or 6 pages of notes on this place. I did not think that would happen. I really did not think I'd have enough information to do this video, but here we are. What are we doing today? What place am I talking about? Well, today we will be talking about the history and the hauntings of Mohican State Park and Landoll's Castle, which is like a hotel on the property of Mohican. If I call it Malabar throughout this video, please excuse me. I've been doing that since I've been researching it. I've been talking about Malabar, and I'm like, oh wait, wrong state park, Mohican. I actually did mention Mohican in my first video. There's a bunch of things to do there. You can camp, they have cabins, they have cottages, they have like, they're called tree houses. They're called tree houses that you can stay in, but like little cottages. It is so cute at Mohican. You can go tubing there. It is a really cool state park, and it is humongous. So I don't have a whole lot of history on Mohican as a state park, because unless y'all want me to go talk about the Ice Age and the glacier that, like, I'm not doing that. So I don't have a whole lot of history on Mohican. I just kind of have the important things that we're going to come back to later on when we're talking about the hauntings. So Mohican, from where I started researching, was inhabited by a Native American tribe called the Delaware tribe. And that was like their hunting ground. There were a lot of people in this tribe, but the one I'm going to mention right now, because he will come back later on, is Thomas Lyon. There's actually a waterfall there, I believe, called Lion Falls or Lion's Fall. And it is a waterfall there. That's what I just said. Thomas Lyon was known for one thing, and it was being the ugliest man alive at that time. I can relate, Thomas. I can relate. Now, that's really all I'm going to talk about for that, because there's not a whole lot of information on it. And also, it's not that important to our story. It's more just I want to talk about Thomas Lyon because he is going to come back into play when we start talking about the hauntings of Mohican. So in 1949, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, they were founded, and they just were a organization for nature here in Ohio. And they named Mohican a state park, but at first it was not named Mohican actually. It was called Clear Fork State Park until 1966. And then they changed it to Mohican because people kept getting Clear Fork State Park confused with Clear Fork Reservoir, which is off near Lexington. So they changed it to Mohican State Park. Mohican is also known for someone that we learned about in school, back in elementary school, Mr. John Chapman, aka Johnny Appleseed. So now Johnny Appleseed spent a lot of time in Mohican because he had some apple trees that he took care of, and he actually had a carving of his name somewhere in Mohican. I tried to look it up, and I couldn't find any pictures of it or anything, but it was a big tourist attraction. Sorry, my windows are open, and I keep seeing like cars driving around. There are so many bees and wasps, which I know they're the same thing, but like outside my window, and I keep getting distracted. And that's all the history I have on Malabar. See, I just did it. I just did it. That's all the history you really need to know about Mohican as a state park. So now we're going to talk about Landoll's Castle, which is the hotel on Mohican property. And this was started by Jim Landoll, who was an Army veteran, and he fell in love with castles while he was deployed in Europe, and he wanted to build his own castle once he retired from the Army. So when he retired from the Army, he actually did not end up making his own castle right away. He instead founded the Landoll Publishing Company, and he founded that in the early 1970s. The publishing company was on the same area where Landoll's Castle is currently. And the publishing company was a very successful publishing company. In 1966, the sales were considered to be $100 million, and it was the second largest printing and publishing company for children's books in America. It was a very, very successful publishing company. In 1977, Jim Landoll sold the publishing company, and he started construction on his dream, which was Landoll's Castle. Now, originally the castle was meant to be just an elaborate barn that looked like a castle, which I kind of am interested to see how that would have worked out. In 1999, Marta, who is Jimmy's wife, or is Jimmy's wife, convinced him to turn Landoll's Castle into a bed and breakfast, and thus the idea was born.
I don't know why I said a bed and breakfast. It's a hotel, not a bed and breakfast.
Now, Landoll's Castle was built with no blueprints, no floor plans. Each room was built one at a time, kind of making it its own. Landoll's Castle opened to the public in 2002 and has since been a very popular attraction in Ohio. They have Christmas lights every year, and I've never went to them, but my parents have been there, and my mom said that they are absolutely amazing and that it's beautiful at Christmas time. So Landoll's Castle, since opening, has been featured on 2 shows that I'm aware of. The first one had nothing to do with the paranormal, It was Hotel Hell on Fox, hosted by Gordon Ramsay. And Gordon Ramsay still stays in contact with Jim Landoll. They give Gordon Ramsay props, and they pretty much say that the reason the hotel is what it is today is because of Gordon Ramsay. It was featured again on TV in 2019, and it was featured on Ghost Hunters. If you have Hulu, then you'll be able to find the episode. It's actually where I got some of my information for this video today. Alright, I went ahead and cut my crease and finished this eye off camera just because I don't think I'm really feeling this look too well, but also, like, I guess it's not too bad. I don't know. Now, for Mohican, there are claims that there are just a few paranormal, supernatural things that happen at the state park. One of them, like I said, Thomas Lyon would come back into play. The ghost of Thomas Lyon is said to be seen around Mohican State Park, and he is said to be one of the scariest ghosts ever. Like, he is said to be scary. Now, when I tried to look into this, I couldn't find anything, and I mean nothing. No articles, no nothing on this. But I have heard this story before by a few different people. I cannot find any articles on it, so I'm not sure why. So everything I'm telling you is just from my head, my noggin. I could be getting this wrong. I could be making this all up and just be thinking that I heard this. So the ghost of Thomas Lyon is said to still haunt Mohican. He has been seen by multiple people visiting there. And what's freaky about him is when he was alive, he allegedly had a necklace of 27 tongues. And that was because that was like his token. When he would kill someone, he would take their tongue and put it on a necklace. And it's said that he is not a friendly ghost, that he is a very mean and nasty ghost, and that he is looking for his next victim. And he sounds like someone you would not want to run into at night. From the stories that I have heard, he is a very scary looking ghost because he wasn't like that cute when he was alive. I don't know, I see a ghost with a necklace of 27 tongues on it, I'm darting the other way. Now, I did not mention this during the history because, again, I could find nothing on this other than one article, but allegedly there was an asylum on Mohican's property back in the early 1800s. However, it has since been torn down and demolished, but people say that they still see a light in the spot where this asylum was. And I have heard about this from multiple people. I found like one article on it, but I've heard it from a lot of people in Ohio. It used to be a hot spot people would go to, and they would see this light. And it's just there. It will show up at night and it'll be there until the sun rises. Some people believe that this is a ghost that was at the asylum and it's stuck there and it doesn't know what to do, while others believe that it is a UFO that is there. And I was able to find one story, because most of the stories are just people going there, seeing this light, and that's it. But I was able to find one story of a woman and her friends, and she went to Mohican with them to see this light. They went, they parked, they saw the light. She says that as they're leaving, this light starts following them. And apparently, this light chased her car all the way out of Mohican. So that's where she believes that it's a UFO, and a lot of people now think that maybe it's a UFO that hovers there in the night. And that is all I could find on Mohican. Like I said, I don't even know if the place is actually haunted. I couldn't find any like pictures, no articles about Mohican. Most stuff that I found was on Landoll's Castle. However, I wanted to talk about Mohican because these are stories that I remember hearing as a kid. This look, I don't really ever do dark looks or cool toned looks. And right now I'm doing both a dark, cool toned look, and I'm scared. Okay, I went ahead and just finished my eyes off camera. So now that I've told you about Mohican and everything that is allegedly said to go on there, let's talk about Landoll's Castle, because that one has a lot more history and a lot more hauntings than Mohican does. And these hauntings are not alleged. These are actual things that have been caught on camera. Oh no, I just put primer on my lashes. So Landoll's castle is built on the site of an old English/German church, and it was actually the first ever Lutheran church in Ohio. And the church kind of had a falling out because there was a fight between what language should be spoken during service, English or German. Well, the English language won, so the German-speaking people that went to church there decided they weren't going there anymore, so they dug up the graves of their relatives that were buried in the cemetery, and they moved them and buried them somewhere else, which, in my opinion, is why this place is so haunted, because you don't just go digging up people who have passed away. You don't do that. That is not something, that's not smart. It's not smart. So shortly after this fight, and after they decided they were only speaking English at this service, which why couldn't they just speak both? Why couldn't they have one service at one time, the one service at another? And like in the morning they spoke German, and then like right after that service, like an hour later they spoke English. I feel like that fight was very unnecessary, but whatever. So after that fight, after they dug up their relatives and moved them somewhere else, the church actually burned to the ground. And that is the first of many fires that have happened there. And it burned to the point where the church could not be rebuilt. And it was never solved and never found out why that fire started or how, which is another common theme. So now we're going to fast forward back to, what was it, the 70s, when Jim Landoll bought the land and built the Children Book Publishing and Printing Company. It was built on the same land as the church. And guess what happened? The factory burned beyond repair in a fire. And when that happened, they ended up selling the factory, and the factory moved to a different location. However, after the factory burned to the ground and they sold it and they moved to a different location, the factory was still plagued with strange fires, and eventually the building was burned beyond repair and they were not able to save it, and it has since closed permanently. And the weird thing about that is, again, none of the fires from that factory were ever solved. They were never able to figure out how they started. And that's what I think is so strange. It's like the building moved. It wasn't on the property anymore, but they kept having these strange fires and they weren't able to figure out what was causing them. So after they sold the factory and it moved off-site, they started construction on Landoll's castle. Like I said, it was open in 2002. And then in 2007, the restaurant that is on site of the hotel burned to the ground. And my mom said that she actually remembers that. It was back, like I said, 2008, right? Yeah, I think it's 2007. I meant 2008. And Lexington, they were supposed to have their prom at this restaurant. And now, like I said, the weird thing about this is that none of these fires have ever been solved. Even the fire in the restaurant, none of it was ever solved. They're not able to find out what is starting these fires. Something else that has been happening just in the last few years at Landoll's castle is that fire alarms in the building will just randomly start going off in the middle of the night when there's no one there. And they aren't able to figure out why they're going off. So like I said, ghost hunters went to Landoll's castle back in 2019, and they actually started looking into these fire alarm claims and trying to figure out why they kept going off. So they called in, they are called a fire alarm service technician. And they called them in to check on the fire alarm system, the electricity, to see if anything was wrong with it, trying to figure out why it was going off. And these fire alarm service technicians, there were two of them, and they both said they could not find anything wrong with the fire alarm system or the electricity in the building. Something else that also happened while Ghost Hunters was there that is really creepy. Well, they were investigating in the restaurant, and it was two of the members of the team, and they're sitting trying to get in contact with this entity that we will talk about later. And all of a sudden, one of them starts feeling really sick to her stomach and gets a headache, and they both say they can smell gas in the restaurant. So they call some other team members over there, and they find that there is a gas leak in the restaurant. And they were there for 2 nights, and the first night there was not this gas leak, but the second night there was, and they could not figure out what caused it. So as they're searching the building and they're trying to figure out where the gas leak is coming from, that way they can call someone and have them fix it, they go into the kitchen area because they're in the dining room. when the 2 people smell the gas leak, they are in the dining room area. So then it's 3 other people from the team, and they're looking for this gas leak so they can call someone, tell them like where it's at. They go into the kitchen, and they find, and now this might not be paranormal at all, but it's just a very odd coincidence that this happened. The stove in the kitchen, 3 out of the 4 burners are turned on, but only so the gas is pumping out. There's no flame. So you know how you have a stove, there's 4 burners on top. You can turn and you'll hear like a click and you'll start smelling gas but no fire will come out. That's what was happening. Someone had turned on the burners but only so gas was spewing out. And the stove had not been on the day before or the night before or that day of the investigation. And it could be something completely explainable, but it's just odd. Why it's so dangerous, if you don't know, which I would hope you do, is because this gas, once it's getting emitted, if someone were to walk by and like strike a match, the whole place could blow up. Or if you're walking by and you have static electricity, the whole place could blow up. The whole place could blow up. I'm just saying. They were saying they can't say it's paranormal because they really aren't sure. Something else that also happened while they were investigating there that I found very odd that pertained with fires. They were investigating the Landoll suite, which is one of like the really higher up suites on this tower. I'm going to insert a picture of Landoll's castle here just so you can see what I'm talking about and you can see the building. But they are investigating in Landoll's suite, which is up in one of the towers. And 2 of the investigators walk in and they instantly feel it is so hot in there. They're not sure what's going on. So they enter the room and they find that they have an electric fireplace in that room and it is turned on and it's turned all the way up onto high. And so they turn the fireplace off and they are still like, it's super hot in here, like what is going on? And they find that the heater is also turned all the way up. So the room was over 100 degrees. And what's strange about that is they had been there during the day, and then they hunted that night, and then they stayed the night at Landoll's castle. They were there during the day, and then hunted again that night. And Landoll's castle had actually closed down for those 2 days and nights. That way the ghost hunters team could investigate with no other guests there. So there was no one in Landoll's castle except for the Ghost Hunters team, and no one was staying in the Landoll suite. And this is all happening the same night, mind you. And the suite is up here and the restaurant's down here, so they weren't really connected. And they can't say it's paranormal, but it's just such a weird coincidence that those things are both happening on the same night, and both things could have turned deadly or started a fire. You know, the room was completely boarded up, the door was closed, all the windows were shut, and there was just this heat in the building, this immense heat it was over 100 degrees in the room. It's not, that's not a good recipe. It's a recipe for disaster. So there are many fires. The Landoll family has actually been plagued with fires since getting this site. And a lot of people, because of this, have started believing that the land is cursed, which I could see. I do think that the people who were buried there probably aren't very happy that their final resting place got dug up and moved. And so they are probably angry and might still be there wanting revenge. I don't know, that's just my little conspiracy theory. That is not all that happens at Landoll's castle though, sweetheart. There is so much more. Guests at the castle have reported hearing crying in the cemetery and in the pool house. And the pool house is actually on the same plot of land that the church was on. And people have said they hear crying in the pool house at night. The kitchen is kind of a hot spot in Landoll's castle. There have been a lot of reports there. People say they will feel uneasy. They will get a feeling like someone's watching them when they're in the kitchen or the dining area. And a lot of people have reported feeling sick and nauseous when they are in the kitchen area. One worker was there late one night. He was alone. He was just kind of wrapping up, cleaning the kitchen up, doing what you do when you close a kitchen. And he said that he started hearing a woman's voice, and it sounded like it was kind of far away and it was faint. So he didn't think anything of it, but then he kept hearing it. So he eventually looked up and he saw in the doorway of the kitchen a woman in a white nightgown, and she was an elderly lady. She had long gray hair, and she was just standing there staring at him. And they said that they made eye contact, and as soon as they did, she flew across the kitchen and slammed into him and like pushed him and then just disappeared. Another worker in the kitchen, she was alone in the dining room, and it was the same guy that had seen that woman, okay? Him and a different worker, and he had went outside to lock up for the night, and she was in the dining room when she said that she started hearing a woman's voice. And so she looked up and she saw a woman in a white nightgown standing in the dining room. However, she could see through her, like she could see the glasses through this woman. Then she just disappeared. Again, I would not be working there. I would be so scared. And she also had gray hair, so they believe that this woman is the same woman that they are seeing and that she's haunting the kitchen. But she's also seen on other parts of the property that we will get to in just a minute. Another ghost that is seen throughout the property, and is probably the most notable ghost, is what they call the girl in the blue dress. And she is a little girl in a blue dress. And she's seen mostly in the graveyard, but she's also been seen in front of the castle and in a room in the castle. She's seen pretty much all over the property, but mostly in the graveyard. And they believe that her name is Samantha. Now I'm going to insert a picture here, and this is what they believe to be Samantha, or some apparition in front of the castle. It was taken by a guest. I don't know if I think it's a ghost, and I am a believer. I'm a very firm believer, but I kind of feel like this might it could be like a smudge on the camera lens or something. I'll insert the picture here so you can see for yourself. It's a little white, like mist in front of the hotel. I'll post a picture of it. And then I'll go ahead and also circle it in red and post a picture of the thing circled in red so you can see that as well. So they don't know if that is Samantha or if it's just an entity, but there is a picture of what they believe to be a little girl in a blue dress in a room. I don't remember what room it was, but it was a suite in Landoll's castle that a guest took and then sent into Landoll's after their stay. So I'll insert that now. And then I'm also going to insert a picture again of it circled in red so you can see what I see and what they're saying is this spirit. So what do you think? I don't know. Personally, I'm not sure. The first picture could easily just be a glare on the camera. The second picture is a little harder, especially because it is said there is a little girl in a blue dress there, and in my opinion, you can see a blue dress. Now, something that Samantha is said to do a lot and what she's kind of known for, here I am playing with my hair again. This is why I don't wear a headband, because you see what happens? Something that Samantha is known to do to guests in Landoll's castle is try and hold their hand. I think that it's so sweet, but a lot of guests have reported having someone try to hold their hand while they're on the property, and they have heard a little girl giggling in the graveyard and around the property. One guest was checking in for the night, and it was during winter, and they were parking, and parking is by the cemetery. So it's like the cemetery, and like the Landoll's castle is kind of down here. Parking is by the cemetery. So they pulled in, it was late at night, and they were parking, and as they flashed their headlights into the cemetery, they saw a girl in a blue dress, and then she was gone. Like, their headlights went off first, she was gone. So they got out of their car looking for her because it was winter, and they were like, it's cold, and she's in the cemetery alone. And they could not find her, and there weren't even footsteps in the snow to indicate that there was someone there. There was no indication of anything in the graveyard. So if you thought, sorry, I'm drying my face, but if you thought that we were done talking about ghosts, we are not. There's a lot of stuff. Like I said, I had like 6 notes on ghost stuff that happened at Mohican and in Landoll's castle. There's also a cottage there called Macbeth Cottage, and it is said, called Macbeth Cottage, and it is said to be one of the most haunted places on Landoll's castle property. So a lot of people there hear strange things. So it's a husband and wife who owns the property. The wife was in Macbeth Cottage, and she was there alone, and she said that she heard a little girl giggle in her ear, which in my opinion is probably Samantha. multiple guests have reported getting blankets pulled off of them in the middle of the night. One guest was sleeping in Beth Cottage, and she was awoken by the blankets getting pulled off of her while she slept. So she jumped up and turned the lights on and saw the figure of a man dressed in Civil War era attire, like he was a soldier, standing in the corner of her room before he completely disappeared right in front of her. Look at that highlight, okay, Colourpop. Something else that happened in Macbeth Cottage was the front desk clerk was working one night, and she started hearing a woman laughing and talking in the cottage. So she went there because no one was supposed to be in the cottage, so she went there to be like, hey, you can't be in here. So she went into the cottage, she didn't see anybody in there, and then out of the corner of her eye, she saw a woman in a white nightgown with gray long hair walking. So she turned, and instead of it disappearing, this woman just kept walking. And people believe that it is the same woman that the people in the kitchen saw. There has also been an image of a Civil War soldier seen in the mirror in the cottage, standing behind you. So you'll look in the mirror, you'll see the image of this soldier, and then he will disappear when you turn around to see, like, who's behind me. He'll be gone. Another occurrence that happened in Macbeth Cottage happened to a newlywed couple. They were staying there, I think it was the night of their wedding. They got married at Landoll's castle, and then that night they were staying the night. And the groom said that he felt someone touching and tickling his feet. Sound familiar? That also happened in Malabar. And the wife said that they were sleeping in the bed, and she just kind of woke up with this weird feeling like someone was watching them. So she jolted up, like sat up in bed, and when she did that, she saw like just a big black figure standing at the foot of their bed. Okay, I went ahead and did my lower lashes, put my eyeshadow on my lower lash, and we're almost done. You might be asking yourself, where are all these hauntings coming from, Chase? Because there aren't any reported deaths on the property. No one has died on the property. So you're probably wondering where are all these hauntings coming from? And I was wondering the same thing. And the Landolls believe, as well as I do, that the hauntings are coming from the Hyde graveyard, which is kind of like behind the castle. The Hyde graveyard is right where the church used to stand, and it's also where the German relatives were buried before they got dug up. So I personally also believe that. I think that when they dug up the relatives in the graveyard, it stirred up something. They aren't happy and they never really have been able to rest. So I have actually never been to Landoll's castle, so I can't tell you that I've had any experiences there because I haven't. I've never went. But from reading this information and seeing the Ghost Hunters episode, I have to say the place really does seem haunted. And I feel like there's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of entities there. And I think that this place definitely has a lot of activity. And I would love to go there. They do ghost hunts, but right now with Miss Rona running rampant, I don't know if I feel comfortable going on a ghost hunt. But I would love to at some point go there and experience this for myself and see what the tea is with Landoll's Castle. Okay, you guys, so this is the finished look. I hated it when I first started, but now I really like it. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, comment, share this video. We hit 30, so now we gotta go to 40, baby. So share this, let all your friends see this face. I am so happy that you guys are liking this because I love Spooky Saturdays. I've never felt this excited to do any video on my YouTube channel or do videos in general. Every week I'm so excited about what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna talk about, the history of the ghosts. I'm just, yeah. So I'm happy you guys are enjoying it. Thank you for commenting, sharing, subscribing. I love you all so much. I will leave all the links down below I talked about. If you are interested or curious about products I used on this mug today, I always put them in the description box down below along with the price for them. And with that, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys. This is the best I've looked on camera. Okay.